Start the broadcast right now.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
It's July 21st, 2010, and welcome to the first webinar for the Software Engineering Productivity Group on LinkedIn, the #1 group for software engineering on LinkedIn. I'm actually just amazed at how many great discussions that we have and the people that are involved in the group. And so, hey, thank you. I'd like to thank all of our the SEP members for participating in our group. I've really enjoyed being a part of it and helping manage it and so on. And it's great that we have our first webinar here to drill into more details about some software engineering subjects that really matter to people. And today we have a guest speaker. It is Raman Irani, who is a principal architect at Zorient Corporation, and he's a leader of Zorient's mobile practice, and he currently focuses a lot on architecting enterprise mobility frameworks for Zorient's customers. And he's done work with a lot of different clients over the last 5 years, and Raman has developed I'm just delighted to have Raman here today to share his experience with us. So I know that developing software on mobile platforms is a priority for the members of our group. We've seen a lot of discussions around mobile software development, and it's very challenging with all of the different mobile environments out there. Hey, thanks, Raman. Thanks for agreeing to do this webinar today.
Thanks, Michael, for the introduction. A big welcome to everyone to the webinar on mobile application porting and testing. Let's get started.
Oh, Raman, I'm sorry. I forgot to say one thing before you actually start your presentation. For all those people listening, please type in your questions in the chat for the webinar through the presentation, and we'll get to them as best we can. If we can't get to your questions during the presentation, we will write back to you individually later. So but please ask those questions. We'd love to hear from you. Sorry, Raman.
Yeah, no problem, Mike. Let's get started with the webinar on mobile application porting and testing. When we interact with several users and our engineering companies that we work with on mobile engagements, they consistently ask us a few questions. They ask us what is the quickest way that we can get our applications ported to different smartphone platforms. They also ask us what would be the best way to test these applications so that they are stable and they work on different devices. And at the same time, they are also interested in knowing how they can reuse the code across several porting instances so that it reduces the time that is required for porting. So what we will be seeing in this webinar is two areas: mobile porting, in which we will discuss the challenges that are involved in porting from one smart platform to another, and also we will discuss some of the case studies that we have built up based on our user engagement and the recommendations for that. Once we go through the mobile porting, we'll focus on mobile testing, where we will discuss the different areas in which mobile applications are tested, along with different case studies and recommendations from our side. Okay, so moving on to mobile porting, we know that there are several dominant smartphone platforms that are out there in the market today. So we've got Android, we've got iPhone, we've got BlackBerry, Windows Mobile, and even the Nokia platforms. So there are tremendous amount of platforms available out there, and none of them is dominant enough. So what is really a requirement is for companies with mobile applications to push their applications onto as many smartphone platforms as possible. This will enable them to reach as much user base as possible. So the need for mobilizing your applications across various platforms is a requirement today. However, porting from one platform to another has its own set of challenges. Some of the challenges we have listed down over here, and I'd like to spend a few points on that. So the number one problem that is prevalent is that there are different platform capabilities. So you've got Android, you've got iPhone, you've got Windows Mobile. Each of these platforms have their own capabilities in terms of features, in terms of the controls that they have. So for example, Android and iPhone, they have a much richer user interface components that are available than the BlackBerry. So when you are porting platforms across from one, say, an Android to a BlackBerry, you need to take into consideration, the differences in platforms. Now, it's not only about differences in platforms. Even within the same platform, what we've observed is that there are significant incompatibilities. An example that we have found from our customer engagement was a project that we moved, an application from, or we made it compatible to work across the Curve 8320 and the Bold 9000, and there were different screen resolutions that we had to take care of. On Android, we also know that 1.6 and version 2.1 and 2.2 are pretty much different from each other. So even within a platform, you need to consider different, versions. Once you've kind of crossed that, you would know that across smartphone platforms, each vendor goes with their, language of choice. So on Windows Mobile, you've got C#. Java is the prevalent coding language on BlackBerry as well as Android. Objective-C is for the iPhone platform, and Qt C++ is what Nokia prefers. So developing applications on each of these smartphone platforms requires knowledge on the developer's part about these languages and the tools that come with that. Another very critical area that we have found when we port applications across platforms is that the user experience needs to be consistent across platforms. Otherwise, the user would feel that it's not the same application that they're probably using. There are richer, UI controls in some platform versus the other. So an example is table elements, which we had to customize so that the application on BlackBerry looked, kind of similar as with respect to the iPhone application. And then while we are porting these things, it's extremely important that we just simply don't, repeat the code and we try to reuse as much code as possible. So for example, BlackBerry and Android, which use the Java platform, it's important that if it's, we can identify pieces of code that can be reused so that our porting effort is significantly reduced. And finally, we would have conducted our porting from one platform to another, but it's also important to ensure that the porting is successful by testing it out across, different device models that are out there, and also networks and carriers, which are prevalent in, different countries.
Hey, Raman, you clearly some of your clients have ported or have needed to have the applications ported on multiple platforms and different devices, but yeah. I'm just curious about that. Is this really something a lot of people want to do, is to support multiple devices? Isn't like the iPhone the biggest? The iPhone has the biggest market share, so isn't that good enough for many companies to just say, hey, we're just going to write our application for iPhone and we're not going to worry about Android and so on?
Yeah, that question is true, and what we have noticed is that in different geographical regions of the world, a certain smartphone platform is definitely the more predominant one. It is predominant in terms of the applications that are available at the marketplace. Sometimes it's also about the developer mind share that it has garnered in those countries. But our experience has shown that in different geographical regions, different smartphone platforms are the predominant ones. So typically in Europe and Asia, the Nokia platform is much more prevalent. In the United States, it's iPhone and Android that has been picking up of late. So I believe that in today's world where you want your application to be available to as wide a global audience as possible, you would have to target definitely at least I would say on a conservative level 4 or 5 of these smartphone platforms for sure.
Raman, one of our listeners has asked a question about why it's so challenging to port to multiple platforms. And I know just from what you were saying already, you were talking about how there's different languages on each of the platforms, so that would clearly be one thing, I guess. But so how would you answer that of why it's difficult to support multiple platforms?
Okay, it's difficult to support multiple platforms. So one angle that you have mentioned from a developer perspective is different, programming languages. But apart from just the development perspective, the important things are also about the look and feel that you want to be consistent across from one platform to another. And since these platforms have different native controls, that's always a challenge to keep it consistent. The other angle also is that you have to target as widely the number of devices as possible, and most devices come in with various resolutions, various memory and battery usage. So there are lots of factors that make porting and at the same time ensuring that your application is working well on all platforms. So it's much more than the programming languages.
Great.
Okay, so the first step that we typically suggest or we actually undertake in our engagements when we port from one platform to another is what I'll be discussing in this slide. So let's first look at the application. Apart from its business functionality that it is supposed to do in any case. So what we have typically noticed is that if you look at any application, it is possible for us to break down the application into the different application components that are used in order to build the entire application. So this screen over here shows you several application components that would be required to build a variety of mobile applications. So let's start with widgets and UI. So these are basically your UI controls which actually go into providing the user interface to the user. So that's one important aspect of any application. After the UI, you have things like a location API. Most applications nowadays are dealing with usage of user's location and then providing services or data based on where the user is, plotting it onto a Google map. So location programming is one application, the component that you may end up using. Any application in today's world would persist some information across application runs. So you could end up using file operations to save the data on the device. Apart from file, an application might prefer to actually go in with the embedded databases that come on the device. And then you have an external services. By external services, what we refer to is any interaction with an outside world. So the outside world could be an enterprise app that you are exposing. It could be any of the existing public web services or REST services that are out there, and also with the increasing number of social media sites that are out there. So it could be an integration at that level. And another aspect of an application could be the sensors or the hardware modules that it deals with on the device. So this is particularly prevalent for native mobile applications where they interact with audio, video. They could be using some telephony, APIs, and also maybe interacting with the camera. So now that I've kind of explained, how you could break down your application first into different application components, what we suggest during any porting is that for an existing, source platform, you must identify how we have shown over here different application components. And finally, you need to find out in your target platform what are the corresponding, APIs available to do the same things. So, for example, if you have an existing, iPhone application which you want to port over to Android, we suggest that first you break down your iPhone application into the different, application components that it is using, and then for Android, you figure out what are the, APIs and how you would go about writing it. So I'll discuss a few, actual our customer engagement examples. So, for example, we had an application that used, it was an iPhone, and we had to port it over to Windows Mobile. In that case, this application was using a database. Now, the iPhone ships with an SQLite embedded database, whereas the predominant database on Windows Mobile is the Microsoft SQL Server Compact Edition. So in this case, we had to port the database code over in order to ensure that the database porting of it is successful. When it came to a scenario where we had to integrate the camera is pretty much unique to each platform, the way they expose out their APIs. So this would pretty much be a rewrite in the target platform. An area that we have found to be quite standardized is that of external services. Now, in this scenario, what we had was an existing application that was exposing its API via web services. So we can easily consume WSDL, and using some code generator, we can actually generate out the client stubs that can be then used in your target platforms. Now, one final example is that of how we can do code reuse. And here, what we found in a porting example was that Android and BlackBerry, for example, they are based on the Java language. So pieces of Java code that we had already, we were able to reuse a large aspect of that in the porting exercise. So to summarize the screen, what I would like to again reiterate is that for your source platform, break down your application into different modules or application components that we show out here, and for the appropriate target platforms, see which ones you may need to rewrite, which ones you could reuse in case it's the same language, and also how you would accordingly use the API on the target platform.
Hey, we have one question, another question from a listener, Raman.
Yeah.
This person is asking, if you know you're going to have to support multiple platforms, which one should you start with? So if you know you need to be on iPhone and Windows Mobile and Android, and you need to have your application running on all of them, which platform should you write your application to first?
That's a good question. You would definitely need one particular platform in which you have an existing application. So I would suggest that your largest user base is something that you would want to target first, and you go ahead and write the application on that platform, and just test it out how the application is doing out there. And if that's successful, then you move ahead to porting it onto different platforms. So I think that's pretty much what would differ from case to case. But I think in order to do a successful porting exercise from one platform, you should have it present in at least a beginning platform, so that you can then target depending upon which platform you want to target next.
Great, thanks.
I have with me a final case study on how we did porting of an existing BlackBerry application to Android. So this slide will help to kind of emphasize the building blocks that we mentioned in the previous slide and how we approached the porting in this example. So what we had over here was an existing application in the BlackBerry platform, and this application primarily used to go ahead to the cloud storage and access file storage, or you could save your files into the cloud. And they exposed the standard web service API for it. Now this application had to be ported over to Android, and there were three key areas that we had to look at for porting. One, we had to keep the UI consistent, so there was UI porting involved. Second, we had to talk to the same web service APIs that the BlackBerry application used. And third is there was some common encryption decryption logic that we wanted to use across. This module used to store user preferences and any other user settings on the device. The way we went about this was, let's look at first the web service API, on the cloud. Now, since web service APIs were exposed via standard WSDL, we used a code generation tool that helped us generate the client stubs that knew how to talk to the web service. So this resulted in a network module, which was actually based in Java, and since both BlackBerry and Android are common on the Java platform, we were able to reuse that same networking code to fetch data. The same case applied to the encryption and decryption module, where we were able to use parts of it, as is across both the applications. And finally, we came to the user interface. Now, in order to retain the same user interface, we had to find out what are the equivalent, UI controls in Android. So we had to rewrite parts of the UI completely in the Android platform. So this example should give you a sense of how we kind of approach, porting, how we break down a source application into different components. We figure out what could be, a common module that can be reused, what areas one can generate code, and also there would obviously be parts of it that you would need to rewrite.
We have another question. Somebody says they really like your examples of case studies or how you actually did the work. And do you have another example you could show of how you went through doing a porting procedure?
Actually, this some of the previous examples I kind of explained in the earlier slide, so I could, we could touch base separately via they could contact me. But this is what the detailed example that I have here.
Okay.
Okay, so I'd like to clarify now or basically summarize the mobile porting and the different recommendations that we have. So the first thing we suggest is to always decode your mobile application or to break it down into modules so that you can determine what modules you can reuse. Always go for open standards-based integration. For example, web services and REST-based method invocations over HTTP and XML are actually the most available on different client platforms. There are several code generators that are out there which allow you to generate code in the target platform that you want. Finally, you have to determine whether your mobile application is a native mobile application or a mobile web application. So native applications are those which are actually integrated, or installed on a device and which require extra control with the device sensors that are out there. So if you are doing a lot of sensor-based programming, like maybe the camera or even the accelerometers, then those applications would need to be native applications. On the other hand, we have found in our customer engagements that a combination of XHTML mobile profile as well as CSS was well suited to creating mobile web applications, which are portable across a wide range of devices.
Could you? Another question we have is somebody asking around how to approach mobile porting, and could you summarize how that works, or summarize what a good approach would be to doing the porting?
Yeah. So to summarize the porting exercise, what we covered in the earlier slide, where we want that first you should break up your application into different application components, and then identify what application components you need to rewrite versus what you can reuse. And we strongly suggest going with existing standards that are out there, like Web Services REST for talking to external services, as well as in case it's a mobile web application, then we suggest looking at the XHTML mobile profile as well as CSS standards out there.
Thanks.
That's the material that I had on mobile porting. I'll go over to mobile testing, the next part of our webinar, where we will discuss, that we have a application that's ported from one platform to another. So how do we, make sure that it's tested well? What are some of the challenges that are involved in testing? And along the way, what are the different tools that we have used in our engagements that has helped us do mobile testing, and with some final recommendations. So mobile testing, as we all know, is not trivial, and there are several reasons. Some of the key reasons are present over here. In the mobile industry, as we know, the product cycles are extremely fast. So new devices are being added daily. The devices that are being added are with extra features, extra memories, even as we speak, probably there's a vendor out there that's releasing a new device with extra capabilities. So the challenge always is that how do we make sure that all our applications will continue to work well on new devices that are being introduced. So not only faster product cycles, but as we've seen earlier in the slides, there are multiple platforms that are out there. So you've got iPhone, you've got Android, you've got Nokia, you've got Windows Mobile. So how do we make sure that the porting that we've done across all these platforms, it is tested well on these combinations of platforms and OSs? And finally, a very important point is that most of the mobile applications that we are releasing today, we would like it to go out to as large a global audience. And what that means is that it needs to work well in various countries. Now we know that different countries or geographical regions in this world, they've got different carriers and networks, and each of these carriers and networks may have their own rules with regards to signing or any other security restrictions that one needs to take into consideration. So it's not just the basic functionality, but also to make sure that it's working well across the carrier network combinations in those countries. Okay. So what I'm going to do now in this slide is that discuss what are the different levels at which we will test the mobile applications. So what I have over here is on the extreme left side, the device, and on the extreme right side is the enterprise application. So you can consider the device as the physical unit or the model on which you have installed the application. Now, the application would probably use the browser if it is a mobile web application. But once it starts going to the browser, it's going to, exchange some data, and which goes over the network and carrier and onto the enterprise application. So, mobile testing of an application is testing your application by physically loading it onto the device and making sure that the functionality is working fine or not. It involves a lot of layers or areas, as we call it, and which I will go into the details now. So on the device level testing, in this area, this is actually happening on the device itself. So we know that different devices come with various screen sizes. They have different resolutions. A lot of devices also have common key functions which need to be verified whether they are working well or not in your application, because users expect those keys to work in a certain fashion. Then there's also about how much memory your application is consuming on a device. A lot of those devices are they range from fairly low memory to large memory. So you would need to verify that your application is not using up a lot of memory. Battery usage is a critical area on the device. So you want battery friendly applications, and that your application does not consume a lot of battery. So device level testing consists of all these areas that you need to test out. Let's move on to browser and data. So in browser testing, it applies to applications which are mobile web applications. Now, mobile web applications typically will use the mobile browser that comes on a device. So you need to ensure that if it is a mobile web application that you want your consumers to use, then it should be working fine across different web browsers on a variety of devices. The data testing it has got to do with the data that flows from the device over the network onto your back-end application. So it could be your back-end application, or it could be any other public services that you are exposing and consuming in return. So data testing has got to do with what are the request response times, what are the performance numbers, what are the data packets sizes that are flowing to and fro, and various other factors. So if you have any performance issues, this is an area that you come to first to understand what has been the request response time and whether you may need some change on the back end side or even on the front end side, how you consume it. Finally comes the network and carrier testing. Now this is a very interesting area which could make or break your mobile application, and it's especially prevalent where you want a wider global reach for your application. So in case you are targeting let's say a particular continent or a geographical region in the world, you would need to take into consideration that they may have different networks as well as different carriers, and each of these networks and carriers would come along with their own rules and regulations. So you need to verify that and test whether your application is going to work fine in those areas. So now that we have seen the different layers that you need to test out your application in, what are the tools that are available that help you do testing in each of these areas? So as I discuss the tools, I will also give you examples that we have collected based on our user engagements. So let's focus first on the device level testing and what are the tools available to do that testing. So on device level testing, we know that all of the smartphone platforms, especially the developer tools, are shipped with a phone simulator. So this phone simulator helps us to actually simulate the physical device. It helps you install the application, test out how it's going to look with respect to resolution, with respect to any common key functions. but at the same time, it is not a full substitution for your hardware device. So an approach is to procure as many hardware devices as possible and physically test it out on those devices. But that's really not very practical at times, because you cannot procure all the devices that are out there, and even as we speak, probably newer models are coming out. So therein, services like Device Anywhere come in. Device Anywhere is actually a service that's offered over the net, where what you can do is you can actually subscribe to certain device models and different carrier network combinations in different countries. So what they give you is actually a remotely controlled environment where you can control the devices, you can install your application and test it out as if you were running it in that particular geographical region without actually having the device with you. So we have an example here where we used the Device Anywhere service. So it was a financial mobile application, and we had to test and verify that it worked in 5 Far East countries, and we were given 3 BlackBerry models that had to be tested on. Now, being present in a particular physical location, we used the service from Device Anywhere, where we went to them, we told we need these 3 BlackBerry models, and we also needed to work across various carrier network combinations in these 5 countries. And they gave us a package with the remote controlled environment to that, and we were able to test out our application and verify that it works there. Now let's move on to browser and data testing and the tools that are available in that area. Let's focus first on browser testing. Now, browser testing is about mobile web applications and making sure that those applications look and feel consistent across various mobile browsers on devices. Now, you may not have all the devices present with you. So one of the quickest ways that you can actually simulate a particular mobile device as well as browser combination is to use what we know as user agents. Now, user agents on a browser are used to indicate to the server what's the device and the browser combination. It's very easy to change for Internet Explorer as well as Firefox the user agent, so that you can simulate different devices and their browsers. So that way you can test out a mobile application, how it would function in a browser and whether it's consistent with its look and feel. On the data testing, we have successfully used a tool called HTTP Watch, which is a plugin for IE and Firefox, and it's also available as a separate application in itself. And here I'd like to give an example. So this was about data testing, and this was a supply chain reporting application that we had exposed onto a native mobile application. And what we found was that for certain kinds of data that was retrieved from the server, the response times were pretty much slow. So the way we went about identifying the issue was we used HTTP Watch. And what HTTP Watch does is it acts as a proxy between your application and the server side, and it lets you monitor the request response, the data packets that are flowing to and fro. So what we observed was that for certain API calls, there was a lot of data that was coming in from the server, and all of that was not needed to be displayed. So that helped us to then go back to the server and refactor some parts of the API in order to improve the performance out there. And finally, we've got network and carrier testing. And in this space, we have successfully used, again, Device Anywhere. As mentioned before, Device Anywhere allows us to specify a set of models that we want to test our application onto, along with the network and a carrier combination. Now, each network carrier combination comes with its own set of security restrictions or signing of your applications that are needed. So through device anywhere and services like this, at a fraction of a cost, you are able to test out your application across different geographical areas. Okay. Finally, I'd like to give some overall recommendations for mobile testing so that we can summarize the mobile testing area that we had here. So mobile testing, we strongly suggest should be an integral part of your entire, project life cycle. And though it is a challenge because of, different devices and their capabilities, differing platforms, faster product cycles, as well as local situations that you need to take into consideration, it is still possible to use various tools and services, as we saw in a previous slide, that you can use effectively to ensure that your mobile application is tested well. So we saw tools like HTTP Watch for data testing. We saw services like Device Anywhere that lets us rent out, phone models across different networks. And we also used phone simulator as well as the user agent as and when applicable to, test out our applications. A third point that I would like to, emphasize to you all is that of a marketplace. Now, we have seen that, there has been a growing number of marketplaces that are coming out for mobile applications. Apple took the lead in, bringing up their Apple Store. And since then, you've also got the Android marketplace, you've got the BlackBerry marketplace, Windows Mobile marketplace. So it's pretty much marketplaces are out there where you would like to, have your application listed so that people can, either try it out for free or, even purchase it. Now, the thing to note about marketplaces is that each of the marketplaces has certain rules and regulations under which they will approve your applications. So, for example, Apple Marketplace does specify that in order for your application to be listed at the marketplace, it will need to follow some UI guidelines. It will need to function in a certain manner so that it's consistent across the Apple platform. And there are also some do's and don'ts, suggested, in terms of multitasking and what default applications you can use on an Apple iPhone. So if you are targeting any specific marketplace for your mobile application, then you need to also consider what would be the approval rules for that marketplace to avoid any last-minute surprises. And finally, we all want our applications to reach as wide an audience as possible. So this means, different geographical regions, different locales. You need to cater to different languages that are out there. So paying attention to those factors also during testing is important, along with the fact that, each of these countries would have their own carriers and networks, and, your application would be working fine in a specific country, but certain carrier and network regulations in a different country would just kind of disable the application. So those are the things that you would need to also take into consideration for a wider global audience. Okay.
So, Roman, we have some questions from the audience. Are you ready to take some general questions now?
I just have a final slide that I would like to cover.
Okay.
Okay. So I'd like to take a few minutes and just mention in brief about, our Zorient Mobile Center of Excellence. So our Center of Excellence has executed several applications across, a wide variety of smartphone platforms. And we have been involved at all stages of a project, right from design to implementation and support. So we've got a good amount of experience understanding the issues. And during our engagements, we've built in several, building blocks that help us speed up application development across platforms. So that's all I have, in the webinar today on mobile porting and testing. I'll take in your questions and please feel free to ask them.
Hey, so one question that we have, Raman, is someone is wondering if there are any good open source porting or testing frameworks or tools that you know of.
Yes, yeah. So on, open source coding and porting tools, actually several emerging frameworks are there right now. And, some of them that come to mind are PhoneGap, there's RowMobile, there's Appcelerator. But the approach that these, frameworks undertake is that they want you to start writing an application in a specific intermediate language. So, for example, PhoneGap takes in the approach that you use a combination of, JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and, you use that, and then they will generate out the code, a native code for you in a target smartphone platform. So, an intermediate approach is what these platforms are taking. And a lot of them basically differ in the support for different smartphone platforms. So not all of them support, or allow porting from, your target platform to any of the others. Plus, they are in a constant state of development at this point in time. So, but it's worth trying if you are going to start off writing an application from scratch.
So another question then somebody is asking is, so what's the advantage of the methods that you've used at Zorient then if you're not using those open source tools? Okay.
At Zorient, we have executed several customer projects where it required challenging porting from one smart platform to another. So what we have done during our engagements is that we have identified, as we showed in the slides, common building blocks out there, which help speed up porting from one platform to another. So if it's a common platform, for example, Android and BlackBerry, they are based on the Java platform. In those scenarios, we are able to reuse a large part of the code through some of our common building blocks. So what these blocks enable us to do is to really cut down into the development time that it needs for porting from one application to another. And also the fact that, they are well tested out modules. So what you're building your application is on well-tested, building blocks.
Great. Another question is around which platforms are the easiest to port to. Have you? What's your feeling of which mobile platforms are the easiest or hardest to handle porting with?
We've had a lot of interesting challenges that we had to overcome while doing several porting engagements. But if I had to pick a couple of examples, I would say that when we had to port to the BlackBerry platform, so that means when the target is the BlackBerry platform, we've had a larger number of challenges, primarily because when we are going from an iPhone to a BlackBerry, there is a certain amount of usability or certain kinds of UI controls that people are expecting to be consistent on BlackBerry also. So we had challenges to make it look the same or at least the same. So that's one of our quite challenging areas. Secondly, even within BlackBerry models, because of different screen resolutions, certain controls do not scale well. So you end up writing different versions for the different models, though it's the same piece of code. So we've had issues like that also. And at a very high level, from the different application components that we specified earlier in the slides, Like for example, we had UI controls that one needs to port. You have location programming, you've got file I/O, database, you've got external services. We found that when you need to actually make the look and feel consistent across the platforms, the UI aspect is challenging because most of these platforms come with a different set of native controls. And if the user is already used to a certain kind of native control on a source platform, it may not be always possible to get that same look and feel. So we try our best, but at times we need to go in with what looks like the best fit on the target platform.
Another question we have is to get a better explanation as to what you meant by mobilizing web and enterprise applications. Are you creating web pages or mobile web pages, or are you creating widgets? What does that mean? And I guess even as I interpret this too, I would even wonder if some web applications don't need to be ported, because if somebody just writes a really, really simple web app, then there's nothing, I mean, because most of these phones can do some basic browsing, right? Then you wouldn't even have to do any porting at all.
Sure, that's a very good question. So what I would like to answer that question with is to first, generally summarize that you can roughly break up mobile applications into native mobile applications and mobile web applications. Now, mobile web applications are those that would run or are expected to run within the mobile browser on the device. So in that case, most of the mobile browsers that are coming out with newer devices have very good support for standards like HTML5, XHTML, CSS. So in that kind of a scenario, if what you're serving is web application, then depending upon the functionality, and as you rightly mentioned, if it's a simple web app that you just want it to be consistent across different device browsers, then going with certain standards like that would make it widely portable to a large extent. That's what we believed, and that's what we've seen in several engagements. But when it comes to native applications, those are a different class of applications that need to deal with the unique hardware or the support that's available on the device. So if you're dealing with a camera, or if you're dealing with certain audio, video, specifics on a device, then those are native web applications. Sorry, native mobile applications, and those you would have to port from one platform to another.
Great. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to talk with us today, Raman. I know it's been interesting to me to hear this, and we've had a lot of questions from listeners, and we will get back to other questions that people have sent in later. So if you didn't have your question read or answered directly in this presentation, you will get to hear from us later. And this whole webinar will be made available online so people can listen to the recording later on. And I will post the link on the Software Engineering Productivity group on LinkedIn so that any of our members in the group can easily go and find this where it is. And for all of our members out there, for the SEP LinkedIn group members, please let us know if you like this presentation. The threads and the discussions of the group, let us know about it, because this is something we'd like to do more in the future, and we'd love to hear the kinds of subjects that you would like to have. So again, Raman, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. It's been my pleasure. Thank you to everyone for attending.